Hey people, Rage here, and this is a quick, well I say quick, I don't know how long it will take, because I'm doing this on the fly. Yeah! Cataclysm video, and this is a Cataclysm guide, the first one of actual Cataclysm at level 85, and it is what you need to know, at least the very minimum of what you need to know, about ARM's DPS. And I know the demographic of people that watch my videos and like Cataclysm that are ARMS warriors that need to about ARMS DPS is very low. Be very surprised if it was all of you. But still, I felt the need to make this video, and I enjoy making it because I am, of course, an ARMS warrior. A dumb, awesome... Why would you ruin it, Druid? Why would you ruin that shot? Anyway, we're going to go through specs, and glyphs, and rotation, and then just a few tips. Nothing fancy, it's not going to be elaborate, it's going to be basically what you need to know, and such. So obviously we're going to choose ARMS. In fact, no, we're going to go prop. Yeah. So, we look at the first row, and as we're going to be using Heroic Strike nearly every cooldown, 15% damage is what we need. Now you have to make a decision. Do you want the healers to have less of a job on you, or do you want to generate additional rage? Now, as warriors have been normalised, yes, the fiends at Blizzard are awful, I always go for Blitz, seeing as the extra rage when you first charge into a boss is good to get your DPS pumped out early on. Now on this route there's really only one option, and that's deep wounds, and then you have to think, what else would you like? I select Drums of War because being able to interrupt with no rage cost means you can seamlessly merge it into your rotation on a boss that needs interrupting, and that is all good. So we get 2 points in Drums of War. Then obviously Impale without question, Sweeping Strikes without question, and Taste of Blood. I'm not going to explain what these do, you should know it if you're an ARMS warrior. Now, we need Deadly Calm, of course we need Deadly Calm. It's an amazing cooldown. Blood Frenzy? Yes, we do. Now, Slam. Now, Slam is the issue for me, because I find that with Heroic Strike, we don't need Slam. I never have time to use it. If I've got extra rage, there's a Heroic Strike ready. I never find a point where I have rage and I've got nothing to press. That just does not happen. Maybe when we get better geared and we always have endless rage tanks, a slam every now and then will be useful. But honestly, right now, you just don't have the rage tank to put extra slams in there, and Heroic Strike is better than slam with the talent build I will be using. So I really just don't think it's worth it. But then you look at the tree and you think, well, what possibly else could I put those 2 points in? There really is nothing. So you are forced to choose between, I'd say, Field Dressing and Improved Slam. Now, just for the sake of argument, I am going to do Improved Slam, but honestly, you won't be using it. Juggernaut is a given, we need Bladestorm. Sudden Death is a given. Colossal Smash makes your DPS crazy. 100% ARP is awesome. Lamp of the Slaughter, also a given. Wrecking Crew, yes we do. And now we have 1 point to get to the highest level talent. Again, this is just a matter of preference. I personally like Throwdown, just in case an ad is out of control and needs a good stunning. Then, Bladestorm. Now we are done in ARMS, so we go to the other trees. 10% crit on Mortal Strike, not going to say no to that. And Battle Trance. Now we need Battle Trance, because having the chance to cost no rage is awesome. As I was saying, rage starving is rife at the moment. Now, Insight. Now this is where Heroic Strike comes into its own. 3 points in Insight mean that your Heroic Strike has just a bonus crit chance, and when you crit Heroic Strike, your next hit with Heroic Strike will also be a crit. You can just keep chaining crits and getting really high damage, much more than Slam. Now we have 2 points, and again this is the third time that it's just a matter of preference. I personally like Rude Interruption, 5% damage increase every time you interrupt a spell. There is lots of opportunities to interrupt spells and trash packs, and even bosses. So 5% damage is something to be looked at. And putting 2 points in doesn't interrupt damage, just duration. So if you're on the ball with interrupts, you don't need that. And finally, I go with Executioner. Having the haste stack up to 9 times, 5 times even, 25% haste when the boss is low, lets you get the rage in much faster and lets you to continue spamming. Execute. Right, let's learn these talents, and I will get on with the glyphs. Now, I have Glyph of Mortal. Hang on a second. Psychic powers activate! Right, after that little screen jerk, we're back again. Don't know what happened there, but we shall see. Right, glyphs. and the psychic powers didn't work, by the way. Now, if we look at prime glyphs, Mortal Strike and Overpower, absolutely no question about it, it has to be. They are your two of your very main moves, and you'll be pressing them nearly every single cooldown. Now, if we look at what else there is, Shield Slam, obviously not. Glyph Revenge, obviously not. Raging Blow, obviously not. Devastate, obviously not. Bloodthirst, obviously not. Which leaves us a choice between Slam and Bladestorm. Now, we can either have Critical Strike on Slam or 15 seconds off Bladestorm. Bladestorm, at the moment, is actually a DPS loss. It is that weak. It is literally only used as a CC breaker. Which leaves Slam. You've got no real choice. Now, if we look at the second row, Sweeping Strikes is a given. You need to spam that move all the time to get your AoE off, and you don't want it costing the massive 30 rage. Now, if we look at the rest of the glyphs, Victory Rush, not worth it in a raid. Thunderclap, again, no point. Sunder Armor, you're not a tank, and you won't be sundering that much as arms. Spell Reflection, obviously not. Shockwave, obviously not. Shield Wall, again, obviously not. How many times can I say obviously not in this one video? And, again, obviously not. Rapid Charge, how fast you want to get around a fight, might be dodging things, but again, Intervene, you know what I'm going to say. Intercept, same with Rapid Charge. Well, slightly the same. You might want to take out a mob out of the fight for a little bit longer, but again. Heroic Throw, obviously not. Death Wish, obviously not. Right, now that leaves us a choice between... I would go for Long Charge, personally, because it lets you get to the fight faster, it lets you reach things that are further away. Less running time means more time DPSing, especially when swapping to targets that are far away from you, like mobs spawning at the back of the room. Sweeping Strikes, already explained, and now we have to choose a third glyph. No, I haven't chosen a third glyph because the auction house sucks at the moment, and there's no Colossal Smash. Yes, Colossal Smash would be my third glyph. And the reason for this is, if there's no sunders on the target, and the DPS warriors are having to sunder, Colossal Smash means that keeping the sunders on is part of your rotation, and not a chore. That is the only possible thing I can see coming out of these glyphs. And for minor glyphs, Intimidating Shout, no use. Sundering, again, no use. Enduring Victory, again, no use. Demo Shout, do I need to say it? Bloody Healing, second that. Which leaves only 3, so you might as well put them in. The Berserker Rage generates 5 rage, a little bit extra rage, is always nice. Nice. So, now we shall put the priority rotation on. Ignore the random key bindings, that's just for my Naga and a few other things. Every single slot is key binded. Now I'm going to put the abilities on the left top in order that they are priority. The Rend debuff must be up 100% of the time. There's no going back on that, there's no changing, I'm sure you know that. The Colossal Smash debuff, yes, this is now added and it's bumped its way right up to second priority. Now, this is a strange one. You don't use Colossal Smash every cooldown, far from it. You use Colossal Smash whenever they don't have the Colossal Smash debuff, so that can vary wildly. You might get the talent that keeps proccing the reset, allowing you to keep it up permanently, or you may have to wait for it to come off cooldown naturally to get the debuff off. Colossal Smash the move is not second priority, Colossal Smash the debuff, however, is. Right, our next priority is Overpower. That is the next highest DPS move. I would always press that instead of a Mortal Strike. It's likely to be a lot more damaging, it's a big crit, and it only costs 5 rage compared to the 25. Now, obviously Mortal Strike comes in next. Now, we're already nearly done with just those 4 moves. Now you may be thinking to yourself, what are you on about with Slam? Now the new Heroic Strike, the fact it is off the global cooldown extra attack on a 3-second cooldown, but it does have a hefty rage cost of 30. Now, if we put that on your bars, let me explain to you what you want to be doing with Heroic Strike. Whenever you have an Overpower ready, you want to Overpower with Heroic Strike, then it's only a 35 rage Mega Nuke. If you have the extra rage for it, Heroic Strike with Mortal Strike. The idea is that you Heroic Strike with one of your other 3 moves when it is off cooldown. So you're constantly doing double attacks, but they cost a lot of rage. If you're doing that correctly, you should be able to continually keep your rage tank empty, but not waiting for rage to stack up. Those 5 moves are literally, you can get away with them with the current rage generation and do respectable DPS. Slam is just, I really can't think of a time to use it at the moment. I've been doing a lot of dungeons obviously, and it's just never been a point where I have needed to use Slam. But it would go there, however. Right, now, the new cooldowns. Heroic Leap, well, new moves. Oh, absolutely great for dodging around a battle, getting to somewhere quickly. Can do a fair amount of damage when you engage if you choose to do it with this instead of charge. And always fun to go, way! Yes, I'm sure you can think of uses for it. In a rage, all your moves cost 50% more rage, which is ouch when Heroic Strike spamming with stuff, but does 15% more damage, which is ouch for the enemy. Now, what you're going to be doing with this is look at the situation that you're in. If you're just facing like a tanky spank boss, you're not doing much tactics, you're just standing there DPSing, there might be the odd times when you feel you've got enough rage to use it. How I like to do it is make a macro that cancels the debuff, and then you put in a rage on, do say a Heroic Strike overpower move, cancel the debuff, so you get the 15% extra damage but you don't get much of the negative. You need to really toggle it on and off, as it were, with a macro to get the maximum use out of Inner Rage. Now, we have I've already covered Colossal Smash. Now, the third thing that really adds to the ARM's DPS repertoire is Deadly Calm. Now, if you press Deadly Calm, you can press Inner Rage straight afterwards. If you wait a few seconds, it'll disable it, but you can do Deadly Calm Inner Rage, which means you have endless rage, so the extra rage cost is no issue, and you're doing 50% more damage. You use that and that combo in, let's say, a Bloodlust or a high burst phase, or a part of the boss where you really need to burn it down, and you just go crazy, Heroic Strike every cooldown, use every single move under the sun, really lay into that boss when those two are on. Now, when you leave Deadly Calm, you'll have a full rage tank, so you use about half of it on Inner Rage, then cancel the buff. That is all really. That right there, which is on my bars now, is the extent of ARM's DPS. Everything else is pretty much situational and has marginal uses. Except, of course, Sweeping Strikes, which I forgot to mention. If there is a fight where there is more than one mob and they need killing fast, always have Sweeping Strikes on. It's really, there's no question about it. Now, you may be tempted to Sweeping Strikes Bladestorm, and while that puts out a lot of damage, it still only levels it to about the same damage as your rotation single target. What you want to be doing on mass AoE fights is rotating Sweeping Strikes, then Bladestorm, off and on, doing one then the other, not blowing them both simultaneously. Now, you may notice that Bladestorm isn't on my bars, and that's because there's no point. It's only good for farming down low health mass mobs that need killing quickly. Single target and even 2 free targets, it's just such a DPS loss at the moment. It does, let me put it in perspective for you. Each Bladestorm tick does about 3k for me. An overpower normal attack does about 8 to 12k for me. Around. There's just no contest. Why would you use Bladestorm when you've got these moves? Blizzard really need to buff Bladestorm and make it the fearsome cooldown it was when we first got it. So yeah, on my bars there is now the extent of what you'll be using as a warrior ARMS DPS. Now, I am going to move my moves onto my Naga in the correct. This is my Naga bar. All on my mouse. Honestly, warriors, although a lot of classes, being able to DPS solely with your mouse is an absolute godsend. It is so useful. Lets you follow tactics a lot better because you're not having to use your keyboard. You can run around fluently while spamming with your mouse. Oh, okay, just get rid of overpower. God's sake. There it is. Nope, that is in fact overpower. And we have Colossal Smash there. I don't know why that one's over there, but that is Colossal Smash. Now, Heroic Leap is the C. That is the T. And that is the 5. Slam, I literally don't have on my bars while DPSing. That goes there. Hang on, does that go there? That is the question. I'm going to need to think about this. This is what happens when you change up your bars for a purpose like this. You literally forget where everything goes. Let me just have a quick look at my moves. I have Execute on Q, and I have, I know this is not really useful, but I have Hamstring on E, just in case. Bladestorm I have on 1. Come on, what am I missing? Rend, Heroic Strike, Mortal Strike. That is not sweep. That is Sweeping Strikes right there. That is Shattering Throw. I have it on the back left of the Naga. I'm really looking intelligent right here, aren't I? Trying my best to remember what the crap is going on. Oh, that reminds me. There is one major thing I forgot to mention, and that is the new shout mechanics. The new shout mechanics mean they are a cooldown, a minute cooldown, lasts 4 minutes, so you can still have them up permanently, but they give a boost of rage. Now, I like to work it by, just before we engage a boss, blowing a shout and popping Berserker Rage, thereby getting me a huge rage buff while going into the boss. 25 from charge. There we go. Just realised it. Right, let me try again. If you arrive at a boss with charge, having done your shout and Berserker Rage, you have nearly a full rage tank to lay into it and get yourself spiking up the meters straight away. I know the meters aren't what it's all about, but yeah, okay. Right, this is all we need for DPSing. So, it is, in fact, fine. 1 second. And sorry about that, you may have seen a little joke forward. Now we're just going to go some basic DPS on a dummy, and just pull the numbers and try and work it as best we can. So, first of all, as I just discussed, we put Commanding Shout and Battle Shout. Battle Shout, where art thou? You see how much I know warriors, yo. There we go. So, we G, we Berserker Rage, and we charge in. Half a tank. Rend is first, Colossal Strike debuff, Heroic Strike overpower. And there's a lot of burst damage if that'd crit. Now, Heroic Strike overpower again, and we have a Mortal Strike of cooldown. There's the next Heroic Strike. And if you watch the rage bar while I am doing this, you'll notice that I am a lot of the time. Now, there is a lot of buff watching with the new Heroic Strike, not Heroic Strike, Colossal Strike, and Rend, and keeping the buffs up all the time do become quite a pain to manage. I'd recommend getting some sort of add-on that yells at you when these buffs are not found to be present on the mob. Now, as you see, my sudden death did not proc, so I've had to wait till Colossal Smash comes off cooldown again in order to use it. Popping Berserker Rage at every point while DPSing is also a very good way to get rage. And again with the shouts, as soon as you can, pop them and try and go to town. Now, I have let a few buffs drop throughout this demonstration, but that's simply because I'm talking at the same time as trying to focus on DPSing. But you get the idea. 7k, it's not that much, but you understand what I'm saying. And you can see what I mean about slam. There's just no point where I have extra rage that I could blow on a slam. Now, I do apologise for the suckage with Rend and Colossal Smash, but you know, you get the basic principle. I hope this guide has helped you. And, you know, my name's been Rage. One last thing I do want to show you, just before I go, is the kind of damage you can do in 10 seconds. Now, let's leave that. Reset that recount. And are we ready? I'm going to charge in and see how much damage I can do in a deadly cam. Debuff. Right. Charge. 5T. Colossal Smash. Rend. And there it is. 15k, 15k, 20k, 12k. And Colossal Smash reset. And we can quickly blow up all the extra rage that we had left. And let's stop, and that spikes me up to 9.6k with just those 2 cooldowns. And the actual damage done is 225k in around 14 seconds, which is not at all that bad. We've finally got cooldowns to pop during a Bloodlust as AMS. Now, this video hasn't been as entertaining for my normal style of video, but I sure hope it's been educational. My name's been Rage. Goodbye. See, he's saying goodbye.